All right, welcome back to Blow Up the Team, the podcast where we just talk about shit and give our horrible takes. And starting off today, we're going to talk about Russell Westbrook being traded to the Rockets. Uh, we're also going to talk about the 10 most important days in the MLB later on, and we're going to talk about David Cohn's perfect game as it's the 20th anniversary.
Does every episode have to have a Yankees reference in the first fucking 10 seconds? Also, let's start the F-bomb counter now. I already dropped one.
Well, this is more than just like a little thing that happened. A perfect game's a big deal.
I mean,
and the Phillies Dodgers game just ended, and literally everyone fucking called it. It was going to be a 7-6 finish, and it was a 7-6 finish because Hector Neris likes to give up home runs. All right, but it's like David Cohn's perfect game is still like it's 20 years. It's a marker, and perfect games are fun. They're like the best pitching you'll ever see.
I can tell you, it's not fun when you're on the opposing team. How about that?
But yeah. But have we ever been in a major league team that got had a perfect game thrown against them?
Have we ever done a professional anything in our lives? Probably not.
Exactly.
This podcast isn't professional.
Clayton Kershaw is the only person in history to ever throw a perfect game with every out being a strikeout. But that was only a 7-inning high school game.
I mean,
I don't know why I thought I'd mention that, but that's what happened.
Why you knew that off the top of your head is more concerning than why you thought to mention it to me.
Because for fun, I like to look at Wikipedia and read about people, and then I find out things which won't remember until the worst possible time.
So, did I just hear that you hate your life? Because I think that's what I just heard.
No. Don't get it twisted. All right. Anyway.
That's what I heard. So we're a little bit late to the this Russell Westbrook trade. My apologies for that one.
Yeah, your back decided, let's just fuck everything. We're gonna cramp up on you.
Yeah, back spasms are not fun. And then also because Matt, little pussy bitch over here, couldn't be bothered to record after midnight.
I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm whispering.
I mean, no one wants to hear your voice anyway, so.
Wow, and yet you're on. You see, here's the problem. You're on a podcast with me. You chose to do this with me.
Bold of you to assume I don't have a voice changer on, so I don't hear your true voice. You don't know that. I could.
That's not how that works.
It is. I could have a filter running so that the audio changes. You don't think I could?
Well, fuck that.
Oh. Okay.
Hey, I listen to the podcast, so I know that is not true.
You did not listen to the podcast, so I need to pull up our
No.
our watch time and
I
show
listened to a few seconds of it, and I heard my voice, and so I know you're lying.
Could have turned it on halfway through. You wouldn't know.
Yeah, yes, I would, because I. Never mind. I clicked through.
We have 8-second watch time. How far did you click through, and how long did you listen?
Okay, I clicked through and listened to about a second each time. Just like making sure all the footage looked like not grainy like you were concerned about.
Yeah, the footage of ESPN.com with no movement on the screen for 90% of it.
Wait! Tampa Bay versus New York Yankees finally starting. Jesus Christ! Thank God.
We'll check in on that later, I guess.
Live updates. Anyway.
Live updates as this goes up a week afterwards because time is shit.
Listen. We're doing our best. Anyway, Russell Westbrook to the Rockets. And the big thing that I see for this trade in my non-NBA professional mind, tell me if I'm right here, Russell Westbrook seems like a type of guy that does a lot of setting up for people because he's led the league in assists per game last year. And James Harden obviously would carry the Rockets last year, averaging 36 points a game, which is nuts. I'm not saying that Westbrook doesn't have offense. He averaged 22.9 points a game last year. However, it just feels like...
Okay, well...
Sorry, I was choking my spit.
It is notable that Tyson Chandler also did sign to the Rockets, so it gives him a backup big man, which they were notably lacking. But so the thing with Russell Westbrook, he's always been highly criticized as a guy who's kind of after his own stats more than he's after like team success. Like that was actually like one of the first things that came up when this trade was happening was that everybody was saying that they don't know how he's going to mesh with Harden because he wants the ball in his hands at all times. So obviously he's the first guy since Oscar Robertson years and years ago to average a triple double, and he's done it for like 3 seasons in a row now. But the thing is, yeah, he's done that. However, like he just like for example, so I know you don't really play basketball, but usually the way that a free throw when a player is shooting a free throw on the opposing team, the team that's like technically on defense that is not shooting the free throw puts 3 people like around the paint like on the block. And Russell Westbrook, normally it's the small forward, power forward, and center that are there. But Russell Westbrook, as a point guard, will switch with the small forward, so that way he has a better chance to get rebounds. So that's just like one specific example, but like he gets criticized for stat stuffing a lot. Like he'll pass up open shots to give guys like even more contested shots just because he wants his 10 assists. Like, yes, he leads the league in assists, but in terms of like legitimately sharing the ball when he needs to share the ball, I don't even think he's really in the top 10.
Okay.
Part of the reason why his assists are so high is because he wants the ball so much, and then he forces people to shoot when he by virtue of how he gives them the ball. So, oh, and my phone is ringing. That's kind of unfortunate.
That is a little unfortunate.
Shut up. Shut up. Can't be asked.
Well executed podcast with
perfectly professional. Anyway,
no sort of soundproofing whatsoever.
what do you want from me? So, yeah, he gets accused a lot of it. I mean, personally, I love watching him play. He plays hard. He never gives up. He is always fighting for everything. But he's kind of got that alpha dog mentality where like you could tell like he's obviously like really he wants to play hard. He wants to do well. But there's been a big question on does he want to do well for him or does he want to do well for the team, which is like the thing that would scare me the most if I'm a Rockets fan right now. You've got 2 guys that are really, really ball dominant and that are kind of like smack in the middle of their primes. I mean, James Harden he's won an MVP I think they've both won an MVP in the past 3 years. I don't remember. Yeah, Russell's was 3 years ago. So they've both won an MVP in the last 3 years. So, they're both going to be wanting the ball in their hands at all times. And the thing is that I feel like Chris Paul was kind of a better fit next to James Harden than Russell Westbrook is because Chris Paul was like he was just a fantastic shooter all around, and Russell Westbrook had career lows in shooting last year. So he doesn't really fit that bill. That's what concerns me if I'm a Rockets fan right now.
So basically, this could end up being like either really if they end up meshing well together. The idea is that if they mesh well together, you have 2 MVP caliber players.
I mean, I think
playing with each other. But if they don't, this can kind of like blow up in the Rockets' faces.
Oh my God! Shut up, ESPN. Why does it do that? Sorry. Yes, basically. It's either going to go extremely well or it's just going to completely suck. And there's really no other ways around it. Okay, my bad. It wasn't a career low. However, he shot less than 30% from 3 last year. And the year before that, he also shot less than 30%. The year that he won MVP, he shot almost 30. It was about 34.5. So he's a streaky shooter. God bless.
Thank you. Oh man, wow.
He can absolutely get hot and like be a great shooter, but he's not a spot up shooter. That's not his game. He's not gonna like spread the floor. So, also this is very, very concerning for me. I don't know how well you can see what I've just highlighted. This is very concerning for me. He shot less than 66% from the free throw line last year. Now, for somebody whose game, like Russell Westbrook, is put your head down, get to the basket, draw fouls, not only the fact that that was 66%, also the season before he shot only 74%. But basically every other season before that he'd been over 80%. So for some inexplicable reason, his free throw numbers percentage has like severely dropped. And with as many free throws as he shoots in a season, that's very troublesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at this. He shot in his MVP season. He shot 840 free throws. Right now, last year he only shot 451, but he gave away by virtue of missing them like 160 points. So you can absolutely give games away down the stretch by missing free throws. Absolutely. And he becomes a liability if he's only shooting in the mid 60s. That's like the biggest thing. Like that's the biggest blemish on a lot of players' careers, their free throw shooting. If you look at Dwight Howard, Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron, all these guys were like dominant when they were in their primes. But the biggest thing that they always struggled with is they couldn't make a damn free throw. So that's troublesome. The Rockets are gonna have some floor spacing conundrums, I believe, because you've got Westbrook, who's not a pure shooter. Obviously, Harden is a pure shooter, but do you want to take the ball out of his hands to allow him to be a pure shooter? That's the question. And then you've got Clint Capella, who I haven't seen him make a jump shot, honestly. And then you've just got a lot of question marks. And for a team that likes to shoot as many threes as Mike D'Antoni's team does, it's going to be interesting to see how they work in that spacing.
Mm-hmm.
So the other side of the trade, though, it makes a lot of sense for the Thunder get that contract off the books, but they picked back up Chris Paul's contract, which is, I mean, it's a year shorter, and he's not quite owed as much money, but it's still basically a $40 million contract. So the thought was, everybody was saying, oh, they're going to try to move him now. But no one wanted Chris Paul. Or let me not say that. No one wanted to make a deal that the Thunder felt was worthwhile. Let's put it that way. Woj has just released an article on ESPN that the talks have just completely stalled, and that it just doesn't seem like it's going to get anywhere, and they're going to start the season together most likely. So, yeah, Bobby Mark says here's a formula for why 40% of players under contract cannot be traded, and there are no teams with significant cap space. Considering Atlanta has the most cap space with 7 million cap space right now, and the biggest trade exception is the Golden State Warriors, who's hard capped. Next is the Dallas Mavericks, who it doesn't make sense for them to get him. So, I don't see where Chris Paul goes unless he gets bought out. But that's a big buyout for the Thunder to buy him out of that.
Yeah.
I saw a meme actually about LeBron trying to get into the Lakers, but the math doesn't work. I've checked.
So with Chris Paul's contract, I guess it would make the most sense for OKC to try and flip him immediately for more draft picks. But OKC, they're not gonna have a good year this year. They're just not. There's no way.
It's time to tank, boys. Time to
literally
rebuild.
the day before the oh my god. The one trade. Oh my god, to the Clippers. Paul George. The day before the Paul George trade, I was watching ESPN and they had like predicting their playoff teams, and the Clippers were in everyone's list. Or not Clippers, the Thunder were in everyone's list, and then all of a sudden their whole team blew. I think like this is also a product of a team that did not expect to be in the situation, and the front office I think has handled it well, realizing, all right, well, we lost him, time to go into tank mode. And so I think they've accepted that. I think picking up Chris Paul's contract, it could have also been like, hey, we're picking up a big contract. You're going to pick up this contract. Like, because you'll see in other sports too, where trades for teams that are going to blow themselves up, like the Mariners, they'll attach on bigger contracts that they don't want to teams, or they'll take on contracts in order to get prospects.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing that happened here. So I heard you say, oh, try to flip him for more picks. Unfortunately, no one's taking on a $40 million.
Well, yeah, no, exactly.
So they would have to really feel like they're one piece away from winning to give anything. So a more likely scenario would be attach a couple of the picks that they do have, because I want to see if I can find the graphic of the Oklahoma City Thunder's draft picks. City Thunder. Oh, sorry, I can't type today. But so future draft pick status. So these are all the picks that they have. They have in 2020 they have basically oh God, there's a lot of I can't be bothered to read all of this, but just know that they have the potential to have a lot of picks. I can't be
Yeah.
asked. I'm sorry. But the thing is that they have so many of these picks. I mean, that's just 2020. If you scroll down, that's 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025, 2026. All of these they have picks from other teams now that they now have from various trades. So, what that could mean for them is attach a couple of those picks, especially one of the picks for like maybe like the Thunder or the Rockets that they have that are going to be playoff teams that aren't going to be like you're not going to get a high lottery pick from the Rockets pick. You're not going to get a high lottery pick from the Clippers pick because both of those teams are good and are going to be good for the next few years. So if you
Hmm.
attach a couple of those picks, which would be late first round picks, which are oftentimes like players that don't wind up playing really in the NBA anyway. I mean, obviously, like there's the rare example where like you find a diamond in the rough, right? But as a
Yeah.
general rule, those players are not going to be your star players. Trade a couple of those picks and get that contract off your books because they're dangerously. They're like they if they want to try to get underneath the luxury tax, they have to move Chris Paul. It's like the only way to do it. So a more likely scenario would be I know we were talking about Westbrook to Miami. That's I mean Westbrook to Miami made sense, but Chris Paul to Miami doesn't. So that's not going to happen. I did bring up the Jazz before, and if the Jazz could work the contract out, I believe that that could still happen.
Hmm.
Um, I talked about the Jazz getting Westbrook. I believe that Chris Paul is also a potential fit for that Jazz team, although I don't know who the GM is for the Jazz, but they seem, and I don't blame them, to be content with the team that they have. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make a move, but I really don't see any other team that's in the market for a player like Chris Paul, who's an aging star, really is well past his prime, and is getting severely overpaid at this point with his injury problems.
Hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I know I think I've seen a lot of reports that the Thunder are likely going to start this season with Chris Paul. I don't think they'll end the season with Chris Paul. It's just a matter of who feels like
Seeing what happens.
exactly. It's a matter of who feels like they really have a chance to do something this season and are ultimately going to try to make a move. I mean, I'm just going to quickly scroll through some of the teams, see if I see anything. Once again, I did see that meme about LeBron trying to get into the Lakers, but the math just doesn't work. Chris Paul's just making too much money. He'd have to get bought out to make it work. And again, the Thunder aren't going to try and buy him out. That's too big of a contract to buy out. So we'll have to see what happens with all that. Um, I do want to talk about, seeing as I'm a Knicks fan, the Knicks for a second. Um, I've seen a lot of people like doing like grades for free agency for teams.
Yep.
I can't be asked to go through all 30 teams right now and do that off the top of my head, but I will say, so obviously Knicks fans out there are all sitting here like, oh, it's a complete bust. The offseason was a bust. They like missed their chance. They had them both. Here's the thing, because of all the reports that they were supposedly coming to the Knicks, everybody's like, oh, they had them. They didn't have them, or they'd be on the team. Everybody just likes to think that they had them. So, considering the fact that they did miss on those big names, I think that they did a pretty good job. What they've done is Nick's salary cap. What they've done is they've been very careful how they spent their money, and so if you look, is this updated? Please tell me this is updated. Oh, it's not updated? Come on, Basketball Reference, get on your shit, man. What is this?
Not as good as the people over at Baseball Reference.
Okay, you know what, buddy? You need to relax as well. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna. Oh, multi-year summary. There we go. This is what I was looking for. If you look at 2021, which is the next supposed big free agent class, look at how much cap space they have. They've owned this. Their total cap allocations this year is $106 million. Basically, they only have $38 million allocated in 2021, which means that what they've done and what a lot of the teams, especially the Knicks, have made in years past have done they've signed players to big contracts that have just eaten up cap space for years to come. What they did this time, they were very smart. They signed a lot of players to either 1-and-1s, meaning they're signed for 1 year and then it's a team or a player option for the second year, or just a straight up 2 year deal. There was very few players that they gave a guaranteed 3 or 4 year deal to, which makes a
Yeah.
ton of sense for them. It allows them to get back into free agency. I don't know if you saw this. Kawhi actually took less than the max contract to go with the Clippers. So for 2 reasons. One, when his next contract comes up, he should be eligible for the Supermax. And two, it allows him and Paul George to hit free agency the same season. So obviously him and Paul George have some kind of connection there, whether it be just friends or if they really enjoy playing together over the next couple of years. Should they decide that they don't want to play for the Clippers anymore, whether they feel like the Lakers overshadow them or whatever, and they decide that they want to move, they could potentially move teams together and keep the duo together, just move to a different thing. So that's something to
Yeah.
keep an eye on.
And that was one thing I heard a lot about was the 2021 is going to be the next free agent class, and the next all their signings were 1 or 2 year deals, and so it was like I thought it was a much smarter offseason than free agency than what most people were saying, ripping them apart for losing out on big name contracts.
Well, so
And the fact is, like a lot of these big name contracts, like you said, they said like, oh, they're close. They never really were. Like a lot of these people, everyone always think they were close. Like oh, they were supposed to get Durant. Durant didn't even meet with them. Kawhi never met with them. Durant
there was just
decided.
a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype around it because New York people get way too excited. And you know who it is? Stephen A. Smith went on and he's like 95% chance that they get both Durant and Kyrie. And I
Stephen A.
remember
Smith just likes to put stuff out there that's like, this is 100% happening for the Knicks, and then it never happens.
I
Like
remember
it's
hearing
just
that on the radio when I was driving one day, and I just literally just I just like started rubbing my head. I was like, I can't even believe he's just said that he's gonna get everybody's hopes up. I never believed for 1 second they were gonna get both of them. Not for 1 second.
I was listening to WFAN. And for whatever reason, I got stuck waiting for my sister at practice, which took an hour. And so my phone dead. I listened to WFAN, and there's a bunch of Knicks fans calling into this one show, and they were all like, wow, I'm so disappointed. I've been a Knicks fan for 40 years, and they're fucking us, and they're screwing us, and blah, blah, blah. Realistically, this is the pains of being a professional
Sports
organization.
fan.
Shit's not always going to go your way. And, I mean, that's it. For New York, everyone's like, oh, this is everyone wants New York to, in New York thinks New York's the shit. Like, I mean, I think New York's the shit, but like, they're used to championships. They like championships, and they're like, why is it never for any other team in New York? It's like it feels like the Yankees generally have their shit together. The Mets never have their shit together, and then occasionally the Giants get their shit together, and then like meanwhile the Jets and the Knicks and the Islanders and the Rangers don't have their shit together. The Rangers, make back-to-back Stanley Cup appearances and lose both times.
And
So
let's not make it like the Nets have been together. And this is the first year the Nets have been really in a good spot since that huge Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce trade. That just never made any sense.
oh yeah, let's trade away our entire future for a bunch of 30-year-olds who are like at the end of their fucking career. Thank
So
you, crazy Russian oligarch.
So this is the one thing I did want to point out. Remember I was talking about bad contracts that they should have never been given out?
Hmm.
Look at this Joakim Noah dead cap. He's still getting. He hasn't played for the Knicks in like a season and a half. I think he sat all of last season, and he wasn't even on the roster this year. He's still getting paid $6.5 million for the next 3 years.
Jesus.
That contract should have never been given out. But all of these guys, the only guy that's the only guy that's guaranteed locked up through 2021, there's two of them. RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. Only two guys that have a guaranteed contract for 2021. And that as a hopeful that they will someday get their shit together, that's very promising for me, is that they made the smart signings. Now, they definitely overpaid Bobby Portis, in my opinion. I don't think he's worth $15 million. However, once again, they made a smart decision, didn't sign him through 2021. Next year's free agent class, I think the star of next year's free agent class may be DeAndre Jordan. Not DeAndre Jordan,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Draymond Green. I don't know why. I was thinking Draymond Green in my head and I said DeAndre Jordan. But Draymond Green may be the star of the next free agent class. I don't think anybody else's contracts are like massively coming up. If I'm missing somebody out there, big rip on that one. I can't remember anything, but Bobby Portis, $60 million. That's a lot of money. I think this is a bargain for Julius Randle. I think he's got the potential to be a star. Um, I'm excited to get Taj Gibson off the books. He's not worth $9 million anymore. We've still got Mitchell Robinson on an absolute bargain. In my opinion, Mitchell Robinson is, of the three players I just named, Bobby Portis, Taj Gibson, and Mitchell Robinson, he's the best of the three of them, and he's making like a tenth of what they're making. So that's promising. They also
Yeah,
I also saw that they signed Marcus Morris, or they're like in the process of signing Marcus Morris, so that could be interesting.
and Julius Randle, like when he was drafted, he was supposed to be the future of the Lakers, and then like in a fucking 10 minutes into his first game, breaking his ankle, never really had that chance to get the chance to be a star after that. So
Well, and if you look
he's
at
got
what he did last season, once Anthony Davis decided that he was going to sit the rest of the season, Julius Randle stepped up big time for that Pelicans team. Um, I mean, almost 22. Oh my God, shut up. Almost 22 points, almost 9 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, we'll call it 21 and a half points. But still, I mean,
very serviceable player.
absolutely serviceable. And look at this 3-point shooting. He shot almost 35% from 3 last season. So it's a stretch 4. I mean, I guess they're calling him a center. I think he's more of a 4, but that's just me. But I really could see him like being able to spread the floor and make some room inside for somebody like an RJ Barrett who's going to want to slash a lot. What is this? Why is the phone ringing again? What is this? Shut the app.
You're just very popular, Jeremy.
It's not even my phone. It's the house phone, so I can't mute it. It's very unfortunate. But yeah, he's a serviceable player, and by serviceable I mean the kid was drafted in 2014, so let's not. He's only 24 years old. He's still got a lot of room to grow. And like you did say, he did suffer that injury. So yeah, exactly. This guy says it right here. Knicks have something to be excited about in Randall. Absolutely, I think that's a good signing for them. I was excited to see that they didn't do the stupid thing and overpay him. They realized they could get him on a little bit of a discount, and they took it. They definitely overpaid Marcus Morris and Bobby Portis, in my opinion. I don't think either one of those guys are worth the $15 million that they're being paid. However, the cap space did have to go to somebody. Somebody had to get paid, so I'm not mad about it. They didn't screw themselves.
Yeah, and these are contracts that are really like. Once again, 2021 is a big year for them to for them to try and get free agents again. So
I did see
how
Reggie Bullock had a
much
surgery as
really,
well, so best of luck to him. Also, this is a big year for Frank Ntilikina. I want to put that out there. They've now brought in Dennis Smith Jr. I think they wound up letting Emmanuel Mudiay walk, which is a little sad, but this is a big year for Frank Ntilikina. If he's going to do something, he's got to show it this year. Otherwise, I think they're probably going to look to move him in the not-too-distant future. They've got Dennis Smith Jr., who is just seemingly like the better point guard at this point in time. Frank he's a great defender, but he really doesn't have the passing vision. He's not an offensive player at all. He's just not an offensive player, which is worrying in today's league where, defense is kind of running out of style and quick. I need to find a way to stop them from like automatically playing videos. What is this, yo? But if you see this, last season he put up less than 6 points a game. He was drafted in 2017. I get it. He's only been in the league 2 years, but come on now.
Mm-hmm.
He was also hurt half the season. He only played 43 games, but it's seeming to me like if the kid's gonna figure it out, this upcoming season is a big season for him. He's got to show improvement. I'm not saying he's got to come out and put up 15, but he's got to show improvement. The assist number is the big thing that concerns me. You don't have to be a great shooter, but you got to be able to pass the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So, I know last week we were talking about our projections for um, the playoffs. Obviously, with the Russell Westbrook trade, that shifts the balance of power out west a little bit. Um, also, I just feel like that Rockets team, I actually, and I'm going to say this, and a lot of people are not necessarily going to agree with it. I really could see the Rockets actually being worse next year than they were this year.
I mean that all depends because if the Westbrook and Harden can figure it out how they're going to work together, they're going to be very dominant together. But the problem is can they figure that out? Can they find a spot to make each other work together? Because if they can't do that, then yeah, what's the point? How are they going to possibly win it all next season? So it'll be interesting.
Well, and I did mention before Westbrook's shooting numbers. If you're, and I said it at the time, I'm going to say it again. The fact that he can't spread the floor is an issue, and it's going to be an issue because James Harden, obviously he's got that disgusting step back, and he's just a great shooter. But he also makes a fair amount of plays getting to the basket. That's why he shoots so many free throws all the time, and that's one of the most infuriating things. I don't know. I know you're not really a huge NBA guy. Last season, it was getting so bad with the amount of free throws and calls that he was getting that in a game against the Lakers, LeBron James and Lonzo Ball actually guarded him with their hands behind his back because they didn't want to get called for a foul. Like they put their hands behind their back and tried to guard him like that because they were frustrated with getting called for fouls. That's how bad it was. Now, if you're going to allow other teams to collapse an extra man into the paint because you don't have to worry about Russell Westbrook shooting, I mean, obviously you got to respect him a little bit. I'm not saying it's not going to be Ben Simmons where you're playing him in the paint while he's got the ball at the 3-point line, but you're allowing him to sag off a little bit and be less likely to have to pay for it because Chris Paul, you leave him open in the corner, he's going to drain it. He's a great shooter. Russell Westbrook, yeah, he can get hot, he can be streaky, but he's not that guy. He's not a spot up shooter. He's not a great catch and shoot guy. So,
Jeremy, you might want to re-say that because you cut out pretty bad.
I mean, they heard me. You may not have heard me, but
I don't know.
I'll repeat it. I basically just said he's not a catch and shoot guy like Chris Paul was. Chris Paul was able to track some defenders out to the perimeter and create more space inside for James Harden. Russell Westbrook isn't going to do that. You can't guard him like Ben Simmons and just leave him completely wide open. But at the same time, you can definitely afford to slack off of him a lot more. You can afford to slack off Chris Paul. So you're gonna have to see he's not a catch and shoot guy. You're not gonna kick it to him in the corner. He's gonna drain. It's not his game. So. Did you hear that time? Yeah.
Yep, I heard that time.
Speaking of Ben Simmons, congratulations on that fat contract he just signed. $150 million, something like that? Is that what it was?
Oh yes, he signed a 150. He signed a max extension with the Sixers.
So they've got him locked up for years to come. That Ben Simmons Joel Embiid combo is gonna be together for long years. And I know that they just signed Tobias Harris also for the next few years. However, it's gonna be interesting to see how long he stays, because losing Butler and losing JJ Redick, they've lost a lot of shooting. So that team's floor spacing is going to be questionable. So I'd like to see what they're able to do with that. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
In the basketball world?
Yeah, I mean, we did
Not off the
our
top of my head.
playoff predictions last week, and I know obviously with the trades that are taking place, it probably shifts that a little bit, but
Yeah,
it
I'm
can't
not
be.
sure how
I
much
don't
it
want to
really.
go back through that again. So, I can't think of anything else specifically right now that I want to talk about. It was mostly just how the Chris Paul trade and the Russell Westbrook trade is going to impact it, and I wanted to talk about the next offseason. So, let's bring it to your baseball. See how many statistics you can bring
Yes.
up this week.
Let's see. Let's see.
Bottom of the first, Yankees
Yeah,
already down 2
yeah,
runs.
yep. Two solo back-to-back home runs from the Braves' best power hitters. Thank you.
Oh, your mic came unplugged. There you go.
Yeah. Two back-to-back solo shots from the best players on that team. So our best power hitters on that team. So a little unfortunate.
Wasn't Daniel Herman pitching really well this season as well?
Oh, he still is. It's just that he has a 3.5 ERA right now, but that's really only because like he had a miserable start against Kansas City, of all teams. Because Kansas City is this thing where they have they'll lose, and then have a huge day against like some really good team. Like it's weird. But
Kind of
anyway,
reminds me of the Mets, to be honest.
yeah, the Mets. We'll talk about that in a little bit. They're in a dumpster fire mode. So today marks the 20th anniversary of David Cohn's perfect game. And anyone who knows David Cohn or knows me knows that David Cohn is my favorite color commentator on Yes. I bought his book full count. It was excellent. He pitched 88 pitches against the Montreal Expos is all it took. As Cohn dominated them with his signature slider, and it was kind of like it was interesting because he was at the end, like he knew in like 1999 he was coming towards the end of his career. He had been pitching he was old, he was getting older, and this is actually like his last like really dominant season in the MLB, like really good season in the MLB. He would go on to win the World Series that year. The next year, 2000. He would go on to struggle with like a 5 ERA, pitched 1 inning in the World Series because he became the 5th man in the rotation, and then had to sign with Boston because it was the only team that was willing to give him a shot for a season. And so it was kind of like he knew that was it. That was his peak right there. And that game, it was such like it was a really special game because they were honoring Don Larson, who threw the first ever perfect game, at least the first recorded perfect game, and Yogi Berra caught Don Larson's first pitch, and it was Yogi Berra Day. Yogi Berra's number 8, 88 pitches. Ooh, spooky baseball. And it was a day of
baseball. This kid just said.
Ooh, spooky baseball. And it was kind of like an awesome. I mean, Cohen talked about this in his book. He in the 8th inning, for the first and only time in his career, he went down into the tunnel, stared at himself in the mirror, felt like throwing up, and just told himself, "Don't fuck it up. Don't mess this up. Just get out there, pitch it, and don't mess it up." And was another like random fact about this game. Joe Girardi caught the game. He's your Yankees manager and World Series winner as a manager. He also in this game, Derek Jeter was the only player to not make a single play in this perfect game. He didn't even like. It was funny because everyone else on the team put in work to make the plays. Not a single ball was hit to shortstop, and so that was kind of funny. Paul O'Neill had a couple nice plays. It was just overall a fun, perfect game to watch, and like you can watch the 27 outs on MLB. It's still an entertaining watch, and I just wanted to touch on that because David Cohn, my favorite pitcher of the Yankees dynasty years, and my favorite color commentator. So shout out to David Cohn.
Do you want to talk about this for a second? I just saw this. I don't know if you've seen it. Yanks get speedy outfielder Gore from Royals.
Terrence Gore's on the Yankees? Fucking love Terrence Gore. I did not see that. So Terrence Gore. All right, Terrence Gore. If you look at his career stats,
your mic came unplugged.
Oh my god. Okay, let's try this again. How are we doing?
We're good.
Okay, Terrence Gore. What a weird fucking like player in the MLB. Not in like a bad way. Great guy. He basically is a professional pinch runner. The Royals used him as such. Basically, not just to steal bases, but to like just right. He scored in like from second on a sac fly. Like it was nuts. The guy's got ridiculous speed. The Yankees are picking him up purely for his base running, and if they need him might need him in the postseason because the Yankees have power, they have contact, but they don't have a lot of speed. They have Brett Gardner, and Drew Warriors is kind of fast, but for the most part, they're like a middle base running team. And Gore, for example, last year in the postseason and in the wild card game, the Cubs put Gore in He was traded to the Cubs last year for cash, and the Royals picked him up again this offseason and then traded him for cash. He's kind of like a perfect trade chip.
$100,000 as well. That doesn't seem like that's a lot.
Well, yeah, he's not. It's not like he's pay, It's not like he's getting a lot. They're not going to get a lot of return for him. They're just hoping to get some return. He actually got his first ever start. I don't know if it was against the Yankees, but it came early on in the season. He went like 4 for 4, which was his first career hit, but his first career hits ever, despite playing on the Royals for numerous years.
It says that he was not added to the 40-man roster, and he's going to report to AAA Scranton. But he could get added when the rosters expand in September.
Yeah, and that's really the main point of like a good player like Terrace Corey. He's not going to be, an everyday, in the majors player. He's going to be that guy you call up for speed, and you're going to need for speed. And he can make some good defensive plays because of said speed. So it'll be interesting. So it's not like it's a huge trade or anything. I just love Terrence Gore because the Cubs last year. I watched a lot of Cubs games last year because I had the MLB app, and so I wanted to make most of my $40 I spent. And they put him on first. He'd be at second on the next pitch. Yeah, that was basically what he does. That's basically what he does. Anyway. Yankees so far. Mariano Rivera is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame on Sunday. JFK Airport named Terminal 42 after him. They fun fact, when he came over here from Panama, he went to they sent him on a plane to Miami. He didn't even know what a gate number was, so he got lost in Miami trying to find the right gate to go, trying to find the gate they were supposed to meet at. So the other news before we talk about just the general season I'm trying to think of.
Yankees are 6 games up on the Rays.
Yes, the Yankees are 6 games up on the Rays. Well, yeah, I was just trying to think of any more random facts I wanted to throw in there. Okay, moving into more serious baseball. The All-Star break is over. This is what I and other people I've seen call the other 10 most important games of the season for every single team, not just the Yankees. This is where you decide for a team like the Yankees what you're going to target, and for a team like Toronto, what can you sell, and what are you keeping? So this is really where you're going to see a lot of the free agent market. The Yankees have said they're in looking for a starting pitcher, and that's the main thing I want to talk about is the starting pitching. We have your main contract being Robbie Ray of the Diamondbacks, who is a perfectly serviceable pitcher sitting at like a 3.5 ERA. He can get you through a few innings. You have Madison Bumgarner, who normally would be like, oh my God, Bumgarner. He's having a down year. He's sitting at like a touch under 4 right now.
Yeah, but look where the Giants are in the rankings, my guy. Listen, I may not be a professional sports player, but just from playing sports for most of my life, I can tell you it is very demoralizing to play when your team is not playing well.
Well, no, that is a fact, and he also did have an injury which he was coming back, which he said he affected his pitching a lot. And the fact is, Bumgarner is the type of guy who can get you through 5 or 6 solid innings still, and get you to that bullpen, and that's it. That's the other thing. And you also have Zach Wheeler is no longer an option because Zach Wheeler's on the IL. Noah Syndergaard has a 4.6 ERA. Yes, he can be very dominant when he's on, but he hasn't shown it. He's shown it like maybe twice. He showed it in the game against the Reds where he hit a home run and then pitched a complete game shutout. That was about it. That's been his season highlight so far.
It's funny because we were just talking about those teams. Both teams are on win streaks right now. The Giants are on a 5-game win streak. The Mets are on a 4-game win streak.
That's actually shocking because the Giants' big problem all year has been offense. And that's another person on the Giants that the Yankees could potentially target. They might not because their bullpen is pretty dominant.
Offense. They won 8-3, 19-2, 2-1, 8-4, 11-8.
No, I know. That's I find kind of ironic. And one of them is going to end tonight because the Mets and Giants play each other. That Rockies game, by the way. Oh yeah. So let me tell you about the Rockies. The Rockies bullpen has been getting lit the fuck up. This game was more than just the bullpen, but they've been getting lit the fuck up, and the Rockies have been responding to people on Twitter complaining about them and apologizing, including one guy who was talking about the Broncos, but the Rockies thought they were making some comment at him. So let me just pull this one up. This is hilarious. It was oh my god, I have to go all the way back here. Here we go. Some guy was talking about training camp for the Broncos coming up on today actually, and and they used the Face app to age someone on the Broncos. But anyway, so the Colorado Rockies responded, you mean this in a derogatory way towards us, but that doesn't have to be the case. Colorado is at its best when all our teams are playing and playing well. That's one of our goals for you and all fans. Thank you for your support. They've just been responding to people on Twitter, apologizing for their bullpen, which I just find hilarious. But back to the Yankees. A lot of these pitchers that are being traded for, it's not like in 2017 when you had Verlander. It's not like in 2018 where I can't even think of which ace got. There's a couple aces traded in 2018. It's not like you're looking for that ace pitcher that you can get and have you carry you through a postseason game. You're looking for guys because there's no specific ace outside of Texas, who I'll talk about next because it's not likely, but could be a potential. Your main pitchers looking for are your Robbie Ray type hit and Madison Bumgarner and Matthew Boyd from the Tigers.
Matthew Boyd is a stud. Just want to point that out. Put that out there.
He is very good, but still, it's not like he's gonna be. He can be. I'm not saying he can't dominate. Every pitcher, regardless of stats, every pitcher can have an on game where they can dominate. If you want to fill up Matthew Boyd's stats, that'd be fine. But the Yankees are in a situation where their bullpen is dominant. Their bullpen is one of the best in the league, and they can pull if they can get a pitcher to go 5 or 6 innings, they can get that extension. Oh, and Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman is the only other name that you can think of. I can think of that'd be like, oh, that's the guy you want. So I think the Yankees' order priority goes like Stroman, Bumgarner, Robbie Ray, Matthew Boyd. It's really going to be who they can get for the best bargain. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to look for a big deal for Stroman because Stroman is a very popular guy there. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about. 3.95 ERA, not like dominating, but still solid enough to get you through a few innings. The fact is, Detroit's also a terrible team. Yeah. It's demoralizing to play for them, and not just that. It's not even just a demoralizing thing. Their defense is that great. They have a lot of problems beyond the.
I do just want to point out also he's only 28. Pitching lifespans tend to be fairly long. He's 4 years into the league. If the Yankees could sign him, he could be a part of the rotation for a few years if they chose to keep him.
And that's the thing, Boyd's not just a half season guy. You could also get Boyd for that next year as well because you get that part of his contract.
Well, and here's the thing. I think we talked about this a little bit last time. The Yankees are in a little bit of a rough spot because, and I say rough spot lightly. Obviously, they're competing for the World Series right now. But in terms of if you're trying to project their future, there's so many question marks because you have so many people you're going to have to pay. What money's left, right?
Exactly, and then that's the thing about baseball is there's so much money in it. But the Yankees still have a massive contract in Jacoby Ellsbury. They're getting no return on, and they have to pay that.
Or
yeah, he's still been hurt. He's still been hurt. Well, they probably have just given up on him at this point. But he's supposed to come to this spring training. It was supposed to be his comeback year, and then he had plantar fasciitis, which tore in his foot, which is a ridiculously painful thing. And so this poor guy, I feel bad for him for the fact that it's a lot of pain that he's going through with these injuries. But he's also got paid way too much by the Yankees. It's more on the Yankees than anything. This is a guy who's had a career of injuries, but is dominant when he plays, and he makes all his money on his legs, and they paid him way too much for it.
Well, they also this is the second Red Sox player that's had kind of nagging injuries like that. Dustin Pedroia last season played I think 10 games all season because he just was hurt the whole time.
Yeah, and this season was supposed to be his comeback, and he also is struggling with injuries. And so there's lots of players who you'll see that are taking up salary space. But the fact is the Yankees have the money. The question is, are the Yankees going to spend the money? Because you have to Aaron Judge is hitting his arbitration years. Gary Sanchez is going to hit his arbitration years. So you got to what they did with Luis Severino is Severino was looking they were going to go to arbitration court over a couple $100,000. So they offered him $40 million for 4 years, which is very good for a pitcher of Severino's caliber. And covering up his arbitration years. So the Yankees need to figure out if they can do something like that. I think the only player that the Yankees are definitely going to extend for long term right now is Aaron Judge. I'm sure they'd love to lock down Torres, and they'd love to lock down Sanchez for a bit. Sanchez is one of those players you have to wait and see,
I
because
think they locked
Sanchez,
down
they have to wait and
just
see.
based on how things have panned out. I think this is my just humble predictions. I think they locked down those four. Honestly, I think and then they try to figure out what they're gonna do with that. They've done it before with the core four, the original, with what was it, Jeter,
Jeter, Posada, uh, Rivera, and I think it was Pettit who they
yeah,
included in
Pettit, and
that.
then they also had Robinson Cano and
Yeah.
A-Rod in there for a lot of years as well. So they, but I mean, think about it, right? You need hitting. We talked about it last time. Hitting like offensive catchers are a rarity, so they have one. They
Yeah.
should try to keep him. Didi Gregorius is, I mean, they really haven't been able to find a serviceable replacement for his defense at shortstop. Um,
Yeah, like Gleyber Torres can play shortstop, but he's not nearly as good of a shortstop as Didi Gregorius is.
exactly.
And
Um,
Didi, and that's it. Like they are talking about extending Didi as well,
I think
because
Aaron
Didi,
Hicks probably walks in the near future.
Aaron Hicks has a 7-year, $70 million contract.
When I say walks, I mean like is not going to be on the Yankees for that full 7 years.
Oh well, that's yeah, that can end up being. That's all very dependent on how these next few years go.
Well,
Because
also
if you
think
can,
about their outfield is getting crowded quick, man.
no, yeah, it is. But Brett Gardner is is on a 1-year contract, and though he wants to keep playing, I don't know how they keep putting him on the roster. I get that this year they put him on to have a veteran presence, and he's having a very like solid year for himself. But the fact is, the guy doesn't hit too much over 200. He's mostly there for his defense and his speed. He's hit more home runs this year than he hit all last year.
He's almost batting
But
250.
yeah, don't get me wrong. He's oh, like, that's better than what he had been. But he's a very streaky guy. He's on a hot streak. He's on a tear right now.
He was 0 for 3 the
But
past 2 games.
okay, I didn't watch the last 2 games. I was at work. But if you look down at starting with that Mets game and going upward, you see his stats creeping upward, upward, upward. Like he's a very streaky type guy. So
I understand that. I was just joking, but like
no, yeah.
I mean the outfield is still just like generically just crowded. Like like
Well, I mean, yes, but you also have to look at certain things because Clint Frazier is going to be used as a trade as a trade chip because even though he had that really amazing hot streak, he fucked up a lot of stuff with the media in New York. Which if the media in New York doesn't like you, you're fucked. Like Roger Maris, though he and Mantle hit so many home runs together trying to break Babe Ruth's record, and they eventually did. They tore him apart because they didn't like him, and Frazier has a lot of development problems when it comes to defense because they're trying to work on his defense. His defense is dog shit, but his offense is enough to make any team interested in him, and so they can offer him up as a contract. Esteban Florial is another prospect for the Yankees, and they just signed Jason Dominguez from the Dominican Republic, who's like they're scouting him like they scouted Mike Trout, and so you have a lot of people in the off who are going to come up in the outfield over the next few years. And so your long-term guys are your Aaron Judge, Aaron Hicks, and Giancarlo Stanton. And Giancarlo Stanton is basically going to be your professional DH because he's okay in the outfield, but you want him for his bat. You don't want him for his, defense. And so,
what about
yes,
everything on
it's a
Cano?
crap.
Didn't they just bring him in to do that?
Yeah, they need to bring him into DH. They were the plan was to go buzzing around the websites, news sites, was that they were going to use him and Frazier as like a trade pins to lock up someone. And to touch on my ace thing I was talking about, Mike Minor's having a career season in Texas. If you want to like pull up Mike Minor stats on like Baseball Reference or something, he's having a ridiculous season. He's below 3 ERA. This is after not pitching in the major leagues that much over the past couple of years. I think he missed two years. He's getting, yeah, like I said, the trade talk. Here's the problem. They need to decide what they're doing because they want to be competitive next year, but they also need to be. Sorry, something caught my throat. They want to be competitive next year, but the question is, because Mike Minor's on a 3-year contract. The question is, do they get returns from Mike Minor? Because they're pitching. He is their pitcher. That is it. That is their best pitcher. When they throw him out there, are they going to keep him around? So if they ultimately decide that they're going to trade Mike Minor, because the Rangers are not in sell mode anymore. They're not in sell mode like they were last year. They're in weird ground where they're looking to get competitive again. And so Minor is one of those chips for them that they have to decide what they're going to do with. And these next 10 games are looking pretty bad for the Rangers, but it's still a lot to decide when you have a guy that's throwing below 3 ERA and having a career year for you guys. So it's going to if they decide they're trading Minor, that is the only pitcher that would take over every other pitcher out there that's looking to be that's probably going to be traded. So that's the only ace you'll see in this trade class. And so yeah, the story for the Yankees trade deadline is going to be pitching, because they need another starting pitcher. Though they are getting better returns from Tanaka, Herman is still, despite his rough start today, is still having a very good season. And he's only given up 2 runs. And if he can keep, doing what he usually does and keep people off balance with his curveball, he can easily pitch 6 innings still and give up no more runs. And, giving up 2 runs isn't a curse. And the fact is that Severino and Betances are both going to be in the bullpen. Well, Betances is a bullpen arm anyway, but it's more than likely Severino's going to be in the bullpen because they're throwing again. But if they want to get Severino to starting pitching ready, it's going to be 6 weeks. They can get him into the bullpen. It'll be sooner rather than later. They get to put Severino in. So that's the situations here for the pitching wise, because you're gonna have a very solidified bullpen. The only bullpen arm that I see the Yankees like trying to trade for is Will Smith of the San Francisco Giants, because he's having a career year. But I'm not even going to touch on that too much, because the fact is the Yankees don't need bullpen arms. They need the starting.
Don't they have the best bullpen in the league?
They have one of the best. Rays have the statistical best, but that's because they also have so many bullpen arms.
Are they still doing that thing where they don't actually have any starting pitchers? They just have a guy that goes for 2 innings?
They do that for almost all their pitchers, but they technically have and the Yankees just tied the Rays 2-2 on a Gio Urshela. Thank you, Lord and Savior, Gio Urshela. I don't know why it's not coming up yet, but Yanni Chirinos is basically a starter. They're using him as a starter. They lost Tyler Glass now, and they're losing. They don't have one other person they picked up in the offseason. But
did I just see a statistic that says when they pitch to this corner that he bats 400? What the hell?
What a weird place to hit 400 from.
Do you see this?
What the hell?
He just doesn't like to swing at pitches in, apparently.
Apparently so. Brett Gardner is a tight, that defensive slap hitter who loves just to fucking put the ball in play. So I think maybe it makes sense. I don't know. I've never seen that.
400. That's insane. Okay, sorry. Continue.
No. That is insane. The question is, how many balls does he really hit from there? So does he really swing at in there? So
I mean, it won't tell me.
Oh, but yeah, this Rays Yankees series has been exciting. Watching that one game where they came back with Judge's home run and then turned it on just in time to watch the bases get loaded for Didi Gregorius, my favorite player in the fucking league. Knock one way high, way deep, no doubt grand slam. That swing, just my favorite swing in the league. Use it in my show players.
Also,
anyway.
before you roast my boy Brett Gardner's batting average, he's not even close to lowest on the team. He's like middle of the road.
No. I'm not saying that Brett Gardner's bad.
He's batting 4 points below Didi Gregorius right now.
No, I'm not saying Brett Gardner's bad. Don't get me wrong. Like Brett Gardner, yeah, Didi's been something until yesterday, or 2 days ago technically, because this is last night's game that got canceled. And don't get me wrong, Brett Gardner is still like a player that can play. Don't get me wrong. He's not like terrible, But do the Yankees really want to re-sign him to another 1-year deal when he's 36 and he's going to be 37? So it's kind of like one of those deals.
What do you think of the they're trying to add like robotic slash computerized
Umpiring.
strike zones?
I mean, I hated it, but then I also saw things. For example, you're looking at this right now. You can see that strike zone. That number one that pitch number one right there. That's not a strike, but it got called a strike anyway. If you drag your so DJ May, who's a righty, right?
Looks like it.
Yeah. So you could see Aaron Judge. If you move your cursor to the right, of the box, right and down to the bottom corner of the box.
Right here?
Right? No, other side.
Down here?
And then move it to his knees. That is where Aaron Judge gets strike calls. They were playing a game against the Blue Jays. They were down, and they had Aaron Judge up, and then Luke Voigt after that. And Judge had worked a walk, and a pitch was way inside, cutting into his batter's box. Got called a strike 3 and struck out looking because of terrible umpiring. The fact is, umpires have a very powerful union. It's never going to happen, at least not for many years. But they need to figure out the strike zones, because strike zones are benefiting players who are smaller, who they don't, and hurting players who are bigger. And like Jose Altuve gets a lot of calls on balls on strikes because of his height, and Aaron Judge gets a lot of balls that are called strikes because of his height. And the fact is that umpires are way too inconsistent. It's going to be a debate for years, because I don't know. I don't want to see them. I feel like it's pointless at times to have like robotic umps, because then it kind of just gets, you lose a little bit of the drama. And it's always fun to see that. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to say.
Does this guy have a pitch in his arsenal other than a sinker?
No, he's a sinker. He's a sinker baller. That's basically what he throws. Sinker, and then like he does have a four seamer. Obviously, like every pitcher can throw a four seam fastball, but his thing is a sinker.
I mean, I'm just seeing throwing 4 straight sinkers.
Yes, he's got a very one pitch method of pitching. Trianos is also having kind of a breakout year for Tampa Bay, but anyway, I don't know what else I want to say. But yeah, that'll be like a topic for the offseason, what are the Yankees going to do with Brett Gardner? Because Brett Gardner, he's been around for his entire career in New York, and he's coming on the end of his career. Like regardless of how he performs this year, he's coming on the end of his career. He's in his mid-30s. This is when you see most players retire, and he's not like a star, like front of the line player, but he's still a very serviceable player.
He's 35.
So yeah, he'll be 36 at the end of the season. And he'll be going into, and then at the end of the season, and here's Brett Gardner. Oh, that was last night's game, the last game they played, when he robbed a. I see, it's shit like that they keep Brett Gardner around, because he's very good at defending the porch.
Yeah, and this guy was pissed.
I mean, wouldn't you be pissed?
Absolutely.
So, those are all off-season questions for another podcast. But
I think that's mostly it for today. Nothing really interesting. Nothing really big happened. I'll click on.
No, nothing really big happened. I think it's kind of like.
Nothing really happened in the NFL. Nothing major.
They gave a bunch of ratings for teams. The Giants and the Jets are near the bottom. Jets are rated 29. Giants are rated 20.
The Jets are really that low.
That's the rating right now.
I think that's a misfire.
I don't know. I mean, it's also it's not just including it's including their team, their front office, their coaching.
Oh well, then yeah, their front office is functional as hell. But they've got we talked about it last week. They got a solid defensive team. They have potential. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, they have potential, and so I'd wait and see. Well, I think that's it from us. We talked about that.
Unless you have any, unless you want to look through the NFL schedule, but I can't be asked.
God no.
We'll do
Fuck
that.
that
We'll do
shit.
that to open the NFL season. How about that?
Yeah, and that when there's no baseball and there's no like. Actually, there'll still be baseball,
Oh,
but
his
you get the
microphone's
point.
come up again.
And there we go. Unplugged. Very good. Yeah.
Well,
They
you
didn't. They
gotta
didn't
get a
quite
better
advertise.
microphone, my
No,
guy.
my mic doesn't have this problem on my other computer with my PlayStation. It's just this computer. This computer has a terrible audio port. This computer I spent $1,000 on has a terrible audio port, which they really should have like mentioned. By the way, you're gonna unplug your mic just by touching like slightly. Um, I think that's it. I think that's it.
All right. Well, then that's it for us this week. Um, any closing statements?
Fuck the Red Sox.
What? What? That's what you have to say.
Well, yeah.
You could have said anything and you go for fuck the Red Sox.
Listen, I'm not gonna pretend to be not biased towards the Yankees, and I go to a school in the Northeast where I have to deal with Red Sox fans. Fuck the Red Sox, and the Red Sox do win today after Chris Sale throws 6 innings with 12 strikeouts, which is good for him.
4 for 9. Wasn't he like insane last
He's
season?
he was insane last season. This year he's 4-9 with a 4.05 ERA. This is his first win at Fenway this year.
How does that happen? I mean, I
He's
know how
basic.
that happens, but like,
He basically his slider was off, which is his signature like put away pitch, and beyond that, his fastball was terrible. His control was terrible. He was walking a lot of guys, giving up a lot of hard contact, and so he got rocked every single game. Like even some games that he won were just like bad. The Dodgers, and
you lied to
that's
me.
it.
This was not his first win in Fenway. He won at home against the Rays, not the Rays, the Blue Jays.
That was well. It just it. Then why did it say? Hold on. This is what it just told me.
He also won
Uh,
versus Houston on 5/19.
well, why the fuck did they? Because I can only tell you what my MLB at bat thing told me, and it said he had lost. This is his first win at home. Well, no, those aren't necessarily wins for him. Those are games that the Red Sox may have won, but those are I don't think that's yeah. You can see
Oh,
the decisions
oh, my
on the
bad.
right.
Can't be
Yeah,
asked.
that. So he's been having a very up and down season, and so that's the Red Sox have a lot of questions they need to answer because their bullpen is hot garbage, and like they managed to
All
get through
right,
3 innings without
this is
giving up
how
a
we're
run
gonna end
today.
it. We're putting you on the spot, Mr. Baseball Guy. We're putting you on the
Okay.
spot. Do the Red Sox go from winning the World Series to out of the playoffs?
Oh, come on! I don't want to be that guy.
I'm making you be
Shit.
that guy. You want to say fuck the Red Sox? You better stand fast by that. Come on now.
Uh, yes, yeah, they don't make the postseason this year. Nope. Their starting pitching is way too inconsistent. Their offense is streaky. Their Mookie Betts is still serviceable, but he's not. You go from having a 350 batting average to a 270 batting average, and you also have a dog shit bullpen. Yes, you didn't resign. Kimbrel's asking for a lot, but the fact is, you can't have a bullpen this bad. They lead they lead the league in ERA. Or they're the worst in the league in the ninth inning. They have like a 5 or 6 ERA in the ninth inning, and that's not and like you see the games where they lose pretty harshly when they lose, and because they that's it. Bullpen has been shit. They have Evaldi coming back, so maybe at best they clinch the second wild card, but I don't think they can pull it together in time because Evaldi's going to take time. They're Andrew Kashner through his first game at Fenway and fucking bombed it, giving up like 5 runs. I think like every season, the Red Sox have the potential, but I just think this season their star players are not doing it. I don't think they make it. I'm gonna make a bold prediction and say they don't make it.
All right. Well then, with all of that being said, I think we will see you next week, or if
Yes,
there's
we will.
something massive that happens.
Yes. Yeah, I guess so.
You want to sign off? You got to have a sign off. We got to create a sign off for you.
Got Chris sign off. Oh Jesus. Hi, Red Sox fans. Don't hate me. I just hate your team.
I just
I
hate your
don't
team.
hate
Don't
you.
hate me.
and that I think Boston's a beautiful city,
Have you been?
and
Oh yeah, yes, you have
yeah,
you been?
yeah.
That's a stupid question.
Yeah, my girlfriend lives there during the school year, so yes, I visit there quite frequently.
Yes, guys, see, as a girlfriend, I'm as surprised as you are.
Thank you, thank you, thank you,
Yes, of course.
jackass.
Fight me. See you guys next week.